Hi everyone, welcome in. Thank you for tuning into this video, and I am glad to be back. Last week, I was dealing with a pretty nasty cold. I couldn't really inhale or speak well at all, but I'm feeling better this week. Last week, of course, I couldn't give any commentary surrounding my picks. This week, I will, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm not going to do a lengthy recap this week. I'll just say that I was 9-6 last week. A decent week, not a great week. I know I can do better. I will say that my upset of the week pick, Giants over Philly, was a disaster. My lock of the week pick, Commanders over Panthers, was spot on. And my game of the week pick was the Ravens over the Bucks. I picked the correct winner. Wasn't exactly the game of the week, and it's unfortunate what happened to Chris Godwin at the end of that game. Wish him a speedy recovery. Before we begin, I'll remind you to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you want to be notified of future uploads, click the bell icon and you can choose between all notifications, personalized only, whatever floats your boat. Without further ado, let's begin. We begin out in Los Angeles on Thursday Night Football with the 2-4 LA Rams hosting the 5-1 Vikings. The Rams are coming off a close win at home against the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Vikings are coming off a tough loss at home against their division rival, the Detroit Lions, where they lost on a last-second field goal. Despite the loss last week, I think the Vikings are legit, and they're primed to bounce back here. The Rams, even though they eked out a win against the Raiders at home, they still have a ton of injuries. I'm not very impressed with their defense. They should get Cooper Kupp back, which will help their offense. But I like Minnesota to bounce back here. The Rams are well coached, and they are at home, so I expect this game to be close. I think Sean McVay will this team to make this a close game, but I do like the Vikings to come out on top here, 27-24. We begin the 1 o'clock Sunday slate with the 4-2 Philadelphia Eagles visiting the 3-4 Cincinnati Bengals. Both of these teams are on 2-game win streaks. I was highly unimpressed with Philadelphia through their first 5 games. However, I thought they played really well in the blowout win last week against the New York Giants. The Bengals, on the other hand, started 1-4, but have a 2-game win streak, although against two of the worst teams in the NFL, the New York Giants and the Cleveland Browns. The Bengals are 0-3 at home to start the season with losses to the Patriots, the Commanders, and the Ravens. I don't think they're going to start their season 0-4 at home. So that's why I'm going to pick them to win this game. I still think this Philadelphia defense is vulnerable against the pass, especially when they face an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow, who has played absolutely lights out this season. So I like the Cincinnati Bengals here, 27-23. Up next is an AFC South battle with the 5-2 Houston Texans coming off that loss at the Green Bay Packers, hosting the 4-3 Indianapolis Colts. These two teams met back in Week 1, and the Houston Texans won by a score of 29-27. Even though the Colts have a winning record, Anthony Richardson has really struggled this season. He's struggling to get to a 50% completion percentage just about every week. On the other side of the coin, CJ Stroud looked really rough last week in the loss to the Packers by the score of 24-22. However, this Colts defense, I think, is super vulnerable, especially against a high-powered offense like that of the Texans. I believe they simply had a bad game last week. The Texans are at home here. They already won in Indianapolis. I like the Texans to bounce back here at home. I think Anthony Richardson is going to struggle once again, and I like the Texans to win here by double digits. We have another divisional game in one of the weakest divisions in the NFL with the 2-5 New York Jets visiting the 1-6 New England Patriots. These two teams, of course, met back in Week 3 in a game that the Jets won 24-3. And, of course, that actually happens to be the last time that the Jets have won this season. Now, let me make this perfectly clear. The New York Jets are not good. Their offense is bad. Their defense was playing really well, keeping them somewhat afloat until they fired Robert Saleh. Now that defense has massively regressed. The Patriots, on the other side, Drake May's looked decent this year, but other than Drake May, there's absolutely nothing to like about this Patriots team. I really didn't like any of the underdogs this week that much. I was tempted to pick the Patriots as my upset of the week just because of how little faith I have in the Jets. But the more I thought about it, that just isn't going to happen. The Jets are going to destroy the Patriots and fool people into thinking, once again, that they are a good team. In the context of this season as a whole, I do not believe in the New York Jets one bit, but I will pick them to win here by double digits on the road, 27-17. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens on a 5-game win streak after an 0-2 start, and sitting at 5-2, visiting the Cleveland Browns at 1-6. The Ravens right now are a machine. They just carved up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Browns, on the other hand, are absolutely terrible. They just lost their starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson, for the year, and honestly, I don't think that's a net negative for them at all. Even when Deshaun Watson's not the quarterback, this offense isn't good. Their offensive line is super banged up. They've already traded Amari Cooper to Buffalo. So give me the Baltimore Ravens to blow out the Browns 30-7. Next up, we have the 5-2 Green Bay Packers visiting the 2-5 Jacksonville Jaguars, coming home from their trip to London, coming off a 32-16 win over the terrible New England Patriots. I said a couple segments ago that I really did not like any of the underdogs this week to win outright, but I had to pick one, and I like Jacksonville this week as my upset of the week pick. First off, I don't think the Jags are good, but they do have a little bit of momentum coming off a really solid performance against the Patriots. On the Green Bay side of things, they are playing well. They are 5-2. However, Jordan Love leads the league in interceptions, and I think there's a chance he could give one to the Jaguars this week. In addition to that, I think that the Packers might be looking ahead a bit. Next week, they have a huge one at home against the Detroit Lions. So I think it's totally possible the Packers completely overlook the Jaguars. I'm feeling good about this one this week. I haven't been good with my upset of the week picks so far this year. I think I'm like 1-6, but I'm going to take a swing here. I'm going to take the Jaguars to upset the Packers 28-24. Next up, we have a meeting between two NFC South teams, the first and second place teams in that division currently, the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Both teams coming in at 4-3, and both teams coming off very bad losses. The Falcons, of course, got blown out of their home stadium last week against the Seattle Seahawks, but by far the more costly loss was Tampa Bay this past week. Their game against the Baltimore Ravens just ended. Mike Evans went out with a hamstring injury early in the game. His status is up in the air for this game. And then Chris Godwin looks to be, if he's not done for the year, he's certainly not going to be playing in this game. So Baker Mayfield is going to have to find a way to make it work without those two guys. And I like Baker. He's played well, but I think he's going to struggle in this game without those two guys. The Falcons won the previous meeting back in week 5 in overtime in a game that Kirk Cousins threw for 500 passing yards. I think that he'll do enough for the Falcons to win this game 24-21. Next up, we have a real hydrogen bomb versus crying baby matchup with the 5-1 Detroit Lions coming off their win against the Minnesota Vikings 31-29, hosting the Tennessee Titans at 1-5. The Titans are not a good football team, period. They started off 10-0 against Buffalo last week, then proceeded to give up 34 unanswered in a 34-10 loss. Not good. Will Levis's dumbass mistakes were a big part of why the Tennessee Titans started 1-4 in their first 5 games, but given what I saw from them with Mason Rudolph last week, they still aren't good even without Will Levis weighing them down. The Detroit Lions, on the other hand, are probably the best team in the NFC at this moment. Of course, they're coming off a huge win in Minnesota to take the division lead. They're back at home this week. They're not going to have a letdown against this terrible Titans team. So give me the Detroit Lions to win here 38-13. I considered making this my lock of the week, but there's an even better pick for that coming up, so stay tuned. Up next, we have the Arizona Cardinals at 3-4, visiting the Miami Dolphins at 2-4. Currently, it's not clear whether or not Tua Tagovailoa is going to make his return this week. I am going to assume he is. The Cardinals are coming off a win at home against the LA Chargers by the score of 17-15, in which the Chargers kicked 5 field goals and the Cardinals actually scored touchdowns. I'm going to call another upset here. Even when the Dolphins had Tua healthy, they didn't exactly look like world beaters. I think they went to the wire with the shitty Jaguars, and they got blown out at home against the Bills. They were getting blown out up until Tua got hurt. So I like the Cardinals to upset the Dolphins here. So I guess we could call this, along with my Packers-Jaguars picks, co-upsets of the week. Give me the Cardinals to upset the Dolphins 24-20. Next up at 4:05 Eastern Time, we have the 5-2 Buffalo Bills traveling out west to face the 4-3 Seattle Seahawks. As I was looking through all the underdogs this week for my upset of the week pick, I know I ended up choosing Jacksonville. Seattle was one that I thought quite a bit about. The Bills are on a 2-game win streak. Their offense with Amari Cooper looks like it hit a different gear last week. I think that Amari Cooper is going to be super productive for the Bills. However, I think this is potentially a tough spot for the Bills. Mike Macdonald is an excellent defensive coach. The Seahawks bounced back from a 3-game losing streak, winning in Atlanta last week, 34-14. I think this game is going to be pretty good. I think the Seahawks are going to keep this one close. But the quarterback matchup in this game is Josh Allen versus Geno Smith. Josh Allen has not thrown an interception yet this year. I think that the difference in this game is going to be the quarterbacks. I think Josh Allen is going to make one more play than Geno Smith, and I'm going to take the Bills to win for that reason, 27-24. Also at 4:05 Eastern Time, we have the New Orleans Saints coming in at 2-5, visiting the LA Chargers at 3-3. The New Orleans Saints started this season 2-0, looked like world beaters, and then a whole bunch of injuries have ravaged their team and their offense, and they've lost 5 straight. They have absolutely no momentum, and once again, I do not think Dennis Allen is a good coach. I think that the head coaching mismatch between Jim Harbaugh and Dennis Allen is big enough for me to pick the Chargers to win this one. I think this is going to be pretty low scoring, as both of these teams have decent defenses, but highly unimpressive offenses. I like the Chargers to win at home here, 20-10. Following that, at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, we have a game that was recently flexed to this time slot amid both of these teams having surprisingly good starts to the year. The Chicago Bears at 4-2, visiting the Washington Commanders at 5-2. Obviously, the storyline here is that the number 1 and number 2 overall picks in this past year's draft, Caleb Williams for the Bears and Jayden Daniels for the Commanders, are meeting here. I think this game is going to be really good. I think it's going to be the game of the week. Jayden Daniels' status is up in the air. I read that he's week to week, but I'm going to analyze this game as if he's going to play this week. I think the ultimate difference maker in this matchup is going to be the Bears defense versus the Commanders defense. And the Bears defense has been really good this year. They've been really good since the second half of last year. And I think the Commanders defense is a little bit suspect. I think that this Bears defense could give Jayden Daniels some fits, even though I do expect him to be able to move the ball. I think Caleb Williams can have a really nice day throwing the ball against this Commanders defense. I like the Bears to win this one here, 27-24. One of 2 undercards to Bears Commanders. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions and undefeated at 6-0, visiting the 2-5 Las Vegas Raiders. The Chiefs this year have been super weird when you compare them to what they've been in the past. They're 6-0, as I've said. However, Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's played better than the numbers suggest, but statistically, Patrick Mahomes has been terrible, and that makes the Chiefs all the more terrifying because when you get MVP level Patrick Mahomes, which we know we're going to get at some point, this Chiefs team is going to be damn near unbeatable. The Raiders, on the other side of the coin, they're not good. They traded Devontae Adams. Their quarterback situation is a mess. I don't think they're well coached. They really don't do anything well, I don't think. The Chiefs haven't really blown teams out a whole lot last year. They blew out the 49ers last week. And do I think they get another blowout win here? Yes, I do. Allegiant Stadium is called Arrowhead West for a reason. The Chiefs are 5-0 there. Of course, they won Super Bowl 58 there last year. And when they play the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium, they're 4-0, with 3 of those wins coming by 14 points or more. I expect the Chiefs to get another 2-touchdown plus win. I don't know how good Patrick Mahomes is going to play. Of course, his career numbers at Allegiant Stadium are awesome, but he had amazing numbers against the 49ers going into last week, and he played terribly last week. So I don't know how well Patrick Mahomes is going to play this week, and it's not going to matter because the Chiefs are going to win this game. Put me down for the Chiefs beating the Raiders as my lock of the week. I'm going to pick them to blow out the Raiders behind a dominant defense and a strong running game, 27-6. Also undercard to Bears Commanders, we have the 1-6 Carolina Panthers visiting the 4-3 Denver Broncos. The Broncos, while their offense leaves a ton to be desired, their defense has been elite this year, and they're playing a really awful Carolina Panthers team. The Panthers, outside of that Week 3 game where they beat the Raiders by double digits, have shown no signs of life this season. They are absolutely terrible. The Broncos are well coached by Sean Payton. They're not going to have a slip up at home against one of the 3 worst teams in the league. So give me the Denver Broncos to win at home by double digits, 24-9, where they do not allow a touchdown. Then on Sunday Night Football, we have the 3-3 Dallas Cowboys visiting the 3-4 San Francisco 49ers. If you asked me before the year, hey Aiden, how do you think this game is going to go? I would have said, oh, the Niners are just going to bully the shit out of the Cowboys like they always do and like they did last year on Sunday Night Football. However, the 49ers have been massively disappointing this year. Of course, they've had nonstop injuries, and Brandon Ayuk was recently added to that list with a torn ACL in the loss to the Chiefs last week. Brock Purdy also looked terrible in the loss to the Chiefs last week. I think you're starting to see some of the cracks in the armor with that 49ers offense without some of their elite skill position talent. They're still without Christian McCaffrey. I don't know when he's coming back. And as I said, they're going to be without Brandon Ayuk. And on the other side, the Dallas Cowboys, we don't really need to talk about how bad they looked the last time we saw them. They're coming off their bye, but the game before their bye, they lost a home game by 38 points. I think this game is going to be super ugly, super low scoring, super sloppy. Dak Prescott never plays well against the 49ers. I don't know how well Brock Purdy's going to play without a lot of the elite skill position talent he normally has around him on offense. I think that the 49ers, they own the Cowboys, and I think they should win this game. Put me down for the 49ers to win here 22-17. And then finally on Monday Night Football, we have the 2-5 New York Giants visiting the 5-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. All of the signs in this matchup point to the Steelers winning in a blowout. However, I am not going to predict that because the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're coming off a blowout win against the Jets last week, an impressive blowout win. But the Steelers, under Mike Tomlin, have a tendency to play down to inferior competition. I do think the Steelers are going to win this game. Obviously, they should. But I think this game could be closer than a lot of us expect. So put me down for the Steelers to win this game in a tight, low-scoring one, 21-16. And that will be all for today. I remind you to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you want to be notified of future content, please click the bell icon. I also encourage you to leave a comment telling me what I was wrong about, what I was right about, and how I can improve these videos in the future. I appreciate the feedback very, very much. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all again real soon.